I would go after AVAX. When it comes to crypto gaming, I think this has the strongest narrative. And we talked about this literally, not to toot my horn or twist my nipples at you, but we talked about it right here a month ago. It's here now. I think it's going to keep moving, though. If you look at the all-time high right here, I think it's going to go well past its all-time high in the bull run. I think it's going to go way past this. I hate calling prices. I think it's going to go way past this. Double, triple. And so I think that's probably like the juiciest high gainish big coin you could go after right now. I think it has a super strong narrative in gaming. So many really good games.
So is Alex Becker right about any of this? Apart from the smaller coins he shills, is something like Avalanche, AVAX, actually going to do a 5x off its all-time highs? I discussed that with you in this video. We're going to go through the charts. We're going to discuss the different market caps and how they compare. And I'm going to show you using technical analysis, particularly Fibonacci extensions, what's actually possible when it comes to price targets. So let's discuss Avalanche. It's number 10 at the moment in terms of market cap. You can see here, market cap 14 billion. That's important, and I'll show you why in just a minute. Biggest coins. So obviously you got Bitcoin, nearly 1 trillion, Ethereum 273, and then going further down, you've got BNB at 38, XRP 33, and the other big comparison is Solana, which is 30. So that's exactly a 2x of where Avalanche is right now. So before I discuss AVAX, let me show you something on Bitcoin in terms of market cycles and how far they move. With Bitcoin, what have we learnt over the past 10 years? Diminishing returns in every cycle of the bigger, larger market cap, larger market caps. So for example, here we saw a high in 2017 of 18,000, and then we saw a high of 67,000. That's not a large multiple. We're just talking multiples of 3 or 4x, and very likely we're going to see the same thing. You have to understand from here, people talk about Bitcoin 10xing, 400,000, 500,000 per Bitcoin. You have to understand that given the market cap is already 1 trillion, that just isn't conceivable. It's not possible. I mean, it is possible, but it's incredibly unlikely. The reason for that is it's just not fathomable that Bitcoin will have a larger market cap than literally all of the companies in the world combined. Like, that's the kind of things we're talking about here. It wouldn't really make any sense whatsoever. Now, doesn't mean it's absolutely impossible, but it's just very, very unlikely. What's more likely, probability-wise, is it does a smaller multiple this time if you're going to see new highs, maybe 150 or 200 at the absolute max. Maybe it just gets back to all-time highs, goes a little bit further to 100, tags it, and then comes back down. That's a lot more likely. And the other thing to note here, in terms of previous cycles, is if you use the Fib extension, you'll notice that future rallies, they tend to range anywhere from a minimum of 1.618 extension, but more often than not, it's 2.236 and 4.236 is this kind of range. That's where we would move to for a smaller cap coin going on another new bull run. So if we take AVAX here at the moment and we take the price right now, which let's call it $40, and we know it's 14 billion market cap. So for it to get to match Solana and it goes to 80, that's very realistic. And that's not a particularly big deal. It will just come higher up in the rankings. And then to get to all-time highs of around 150, that's also nothing dramatic. That's not a big deal. From here, we're talking a 4x. So that would be 28, 56, about 56 billion market cap. Very realistic. But then very likely if it's going to be challenging something like Ethereum, Solana and Avalanche are going to get to that number, that figure of 200 to 300 billion in market cap. So it's quite possible from the price where it is right now, it could actually do a 10x. That's possible. But that would take it to around 400. That's kind of an upper target. So that's not conservative. Conservative would be all-time highs. So that's the multiples. But let's have a look at the Chrome extensions here. And let's have a look at the move last time. So in the move last time, in Elliott wave, you always get one initial spike higher, and then you get a third wave, and then you get a fifth wave. So you get 3 big impulsive waves typically. And also what you can do here is you can take swing low to swing high, the first significant one, and you can trace that back to the next significant correction low, and then you'll see there was exactly 2.236. That's a very, very, very common extension from a wave 1 to a wave 2, and then we get where the extension is. The only problem right now is we don't know where we're going to top out right now. But let's guess. Let's say we're very close, or we're going to get to the next significant resistance, which is around 53, 54. And that would be a nice kind of top for a wave one. And then what I think is going to happen is after we finish rallying, we may be very close, we may be already done, but more likely we're going to get a little bit push up and then we're done. So let's say this is all a 1, and then we have a big correction for a 2. It's from that point on where we find support that we'll not absolutely accurately, but get a good guesstimate as to how high we're going to go from there. But even if we traced it right now from this current move, if we were to trace and we pull back to support, say around the 30, 35 level or something like that, you can see that 2.236, we're exactly tracing the all-time highs. So all-time highs as a minimum, I think is realistic. Now, this is not going to happen overnight in the next few weeks, next few months or anything like that. We're talking about a kind of 12 to 18 month time frame. So 12 to 18 months, tracing back after a long correction period, and then in a strong wave 3 and a wave 5, we could absolutely get to all-time highs. That might be the wave 3 push, and then we get a pullback, and then we go back for the final push up, which would be the 4.236 more than likely. So that's where we get that 200 to 300 mark in terms of an actual target for Avalanche. Now, in a minute, we're going to go on the shorter term time frame. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on right now in terms of where we are in the market cycle for AVAX and what we might see in the coming days and weeks. So I'm going to discuss that in just a minute. But at the moment, we're just talking about long-term timeframes, because a lot of you might be long-term investors, and pretty much like me, you might want to hold AVAX as a longer-term play rather than this time Bitcoin or Ethereum, because the possibility of gains, multiples, is a lot higher, in my opinion. And I'm sure a lot of people would agree with that. So as I say, that's the range. Now, once we know where we top out in this mini move right now, which might be December, January, typically end of December is a good time for crypto. Early January, you get a little bit of a pump and then things go corrective for a few months. So maybe we get the same again. But once we've done that first move and the full correction, we can then get accurate estimates. And that bottom of wave 2 is probably the best time to buy. The reason it's the best time to buy here is because actually then you've confirmed a complete trend change. So literally the ship has turned from massive bear market to massive bull market, and then that's the lowest prices you're going to basically get. So let's have a look on a shorter term time frame, and let's do some technical analysis to see what AVAX is doing right now. Okay, so for AVAX, let's do some in-depth analysis on the smaller kind of time frames. First of all, we're going to start with daily here, and there's a few things we need to look at. The first thing is general areas of support and resistance. Very easy to do with the naked eye, even if you're brand new to technical analysis. Now, if you have a look here from the move in May, and then we saw price kind of crash down, we can see here from a period of April to May last year, 2022, price kind of sliced through 2 levels. So let's draw them on. So this horizontal level here, and remember it's an area, it's not a specific number, but this area is around the 54 mark, 54.5. Between there and then this area around 38, 39, where we're stalling at the moment, there's not any price action, which means price in theory should move very quickly. If we continue to go up, momentum continues, it's a very quick kind of shortcut to this level. But then at that level, there was a lot of price action here, 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 here. There was a lot of resistance. So it's a very solid ceiling. So either way you take it, yes, we might quickly flick through and then sell off back down, but nothing's going to happen quickly from here going upwards. We're going to be in this region for a while. So that's the first thing to know in terms of technical analysis, so you're aware, because we're talking about potential target areas. This is the first hurdle. So if momentum continues in the general crypto market, it has to be the general market. Otherwise, if everything else is crashing, AVAX is not going anywhere. End of story. It will stall here, probably consolidate sideways or a little bit lower before it begins its next move. Next thing to look at is momentum oscillators. So let's have a look at the RSI and the MACD. So I'm still on a daily chart, and one thing that's obvious here, if you have a look below at the RSI, is we're in oversold territory. So overbought. When we're in overbought, price generally cools off a little bit and goes sideways. That's normal. So that shows you that there's very good momentum in this market. And on the MACD, we've not seen any crossovers or anything concerning. The histogram still looks very strong. Momentum is still very much bullish. We're just cooling down because we've moved too fast, which is a good thing. That's what you want to see in a healthy kind of bull market. Even if it's a short-term bull market, that's healthy. Now, we need to look at the 4 hourly here to see if there's any divergence. Divergence sometimes signals if there's a high in place, a top, a local top. And you want to see what the top 2 swing highs are, the peaks here. Notice there's very little divergence, if any. So there's a little indicating the pullback, but not significant to indicate that there's a massive top in place. So what do I mean by that? Top meaning what we're going to get correction now and we're going to go downwards for the next 2-3 months. Not from this top, it's less likely. Probability states it's a little bit less likely. Next thing to look at, candlestick patterns. These are more powerful on higher time frames. So if we jump back to the daily and have a look at the candles, usually at significant tops, highs and lows, you see some sort of candlestick pattern forming. For example, you can see hammer candles, dojis, basically long wicks, short body, something like that. Now you're seeing these, but not where the candle like this candle here came up, then we had a doji candle, and then we had a bearish red candle all the way back down again. You're not seeing that. That doji candle, hammer candle there was engulfed by the next one. So nothing here saying that there's a sudden top. All this is showing is indecision and sideways movement. Still lots of buyers, still lots of sellers. Next thing, chart patterns. So let's drop down to a 4 hourly, even a 2 hourly chart actually. We might be able to see it more clearly. Let's remove the other indicators. So with chart patterns, things are perfect. Again, it's more experience than anything else, but basically we're seeing price go up very strong. So it's quite possible we might see some sort of pattern, a consolidation pattern, a continuation pattern, and it looks like we may be forming a pennant pattern. Pennant. So this is where you get a push lower, then a push to a lower high, but then a higher low as well, and then price constricts, and then we'll see what happens. If price goes sideways, at that point when it gets to the corner, it has to make a decision one way or the other. But if it's going to break out, very likely it will break through this top trend line, and then you'll get a strong move up. Sometimes you get fake outs. So you get a little pop up. So on a 4 hourly, it might be a wick and then a quick push back down and price crashing down. So watch out for those. Those can catch people out a lot. But generally a pennant is a continuation sign. So probability again states that once this is settled down, again, if the crypto market is generally healthy, you can get a push up. And remember, we marked that next level here around the 54 mark. That's marked off there. So that's a nice target and plenty of room for things to run from here to there. I mean, in terms of percentages, if that was indeed a big target, we're talking another 40%. Very significant, not only for AVAX, but every other crypto coin currency that's related to AVAX as well. So we talked about support resistance as well. Final thing, volume profile. You'll see the bars below. That's the volume traded. Now, again, if we just go into a daily first, what you'll notice is when things started to kick off, always moves up, you want to see them associated with volume. Always, always. So from this low, you saw volume kind of trend down, and then we saw breakouts in volume all the way here. And that led to this push up, and then a massive breakout in volume where everybody kind of jumped in, and then price started pushing. Now, at the top, what you might see is a lot of selling volume. So for example, at the highs we've seen previously, you'll see a lot of volume as we started to move up, but also a lot of volume as we started to sell off at the absolute tops. So just be careful about that. So sometimes in these final few candles, let's say if we jump onto 4 hourly, you don't want to see a massive amount of volume in these candles. You want to see volume on the way up, but these final top candles, you don't want to see a lot of volume going in. However, not a lot of movement in price. So we have to be careful about that. Nothing I would say too concerning. In general, there's a lot of volume in this area going up, but this could just be people jumping in like they did here, readying themselves for the next move. Nothing too concerning there. So in summary, it depends on how, again, the market's going to move. But if things remain bullish on the other coins, this could get another move up. But then generally in cryptocurrencies, this is just my opinion. Technical analysis isn't showing us clearly this yet. But my opinion is if we get another strong push up, we might then get a good period of correction, which is healthy anyway. But that might be over a period of 2 or 3 months where everything kind of cools off. And that would be a general crypto correction. And that will include obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. as well. But again, who knows? Especially if retail starts to get involved, things just might go parabolic for longer than people think. So beware of that as well. I would say if you're in lots of profits, things keep moving up. Sometimes it does pay off to let things run, and you can use trailing stops. And there's so many trailing stops. Here's one of the ones that I use. This stop here is called a chandelier stop. And it's a really cool way to kind of signal on a slightly higher time frame anyway, when there might be time to just kind of pull out of the trade. And as you're moving up, it nicely kind of follows price, so it keeps your stop kind of tight as well. So I find it very useful. By the way, I've spoken a lot about different aspects of technical analysis. If there's anything here that doesn't make sense, you want another video where I go into something in more detail, or you generally want more technical analysis videos on other cryptocurrency coins, then mention the coins down below as well, and I'd be happy to have a look over them. Thanks for listening.